Europe, Audi's Q5 mid-sized SUV sells mostly in this sleeker sportback form. It's not previously been quite like that in the UK, but this second generation Q5 Sportback model might change things.
Audi's taken a second stab at bringing us a genuinely desirable Q5 Sportback. Here, we'll take a closer look. Question: is it really necessary for a premium badged mid-sized SUV to also be available with a second, sleeker coupe body shape? Well, some brands like CUPRA, Genesis, Porsche and BMW now don't think so. Others, like Mercedes and Audi, remain convinced that a second coupe body shape is needed, and it's Audi's take on that, the Q5 Sportback, that we look at here. This body style first arrived at the time of the previous generation Q5's mid-term facelift in 2020, and understandably, given what was happening in the world back then, didn't attract much attention. Unfortunately, its rather frumpy looks didn't attract much pavement passerby attention either, which rather put the car at a disadvantage compared to its arch rival, the Mercedes GLC Coupe. So, in late 2024, as part of a new generation Q5 launch, Audi tried again, creating the sleeker MK2 Q5 Sportback we're going to look at here. You can find out more about this kind of model by downloading the Car and Driving app. But if you're interested specifically in this Q5 Sportback, you need to stay with us for the industry's most comprehensive review, the Car and Driving Road Test. Obviously, a Q5 Sportback doesn't drive any differently from a Q5 SUV. Customers of premium upper mid-sized SUVs don't typically tend to prioritise an involving driving experience, and if they do, they don't tend to choose this one. Yet, if for you driving enjoyment lies with a lowering rather than a raising of the heartbeat, you might really appreciate what Audi's tried to do with all versions of this Q5. The engines on offer here are pretty familiar, and as before, all versions come with Quattro four-wheel drive and 7-speed dual-clutch S-tronic auto transmission. What's new is that it all sits on completely redesigned underpinnings, the PPC or Premium Platform Combustion chassis we've already seen in the current generation A5. Development of new combustion-based fundamentals here tells you everything about how long Audi thinks the EV revolution will take to get into full swing. As for those engines, well, perhaps the most surprising news is that one of the mainstream ones is still a diesel. The EA288 Evo Generation 2-litre TDI unit we're trying here really is exceptionally quiet. You really have to concentrate to realise it's a diesel. This unit develops the same 204 PS output as the alternative 2-litre TFSI petrol power plant, but quite a lot more torque, 400 as opposed to 340 Newton meters, which will be of interest to towers who will be pleased to know that it can lug along up to 2,400 kilograms. They won't be so interested in the continuing top SQ5 sporty model, because now that isn't a diesel. The old 3-litre TDI V6 unit now swapped for 3-litre TFSI petrol V6 that produces 367 PS and a gutsy 550 Newton meters of torque. That SQ5 makes 62 miles an hour in 4.5 seconds en route to 155 miles an hour. The mainstream 2-litre models make 62 miles an hour in just over 7 seconds en route to 140 miles an hour. All the mainstream engines are now aided by the brand's MHEV Plus mild hybrid system, which is different from the old MHEV setup in that, in addition to the usual system integrated starter generator, there's also a second centrally mounted powertrain generator. The result is dramatically increased levels of regenerative braking and consequently, in theory at least, a bit more of a positive impact on efficiency. As we'll tell you in our cost section, the technology promises rather more than it actually delivers. So if you're looking for a really efficient kind of Q5 Sportback, it might be worth stretching to a more sophisticated kind of hybrid system like that offered by the e-hybrid PHEV version. Unlike rivals Mercedes, Audi only offers its plug-in hybrid setup with petrol power. And as with other green pump 4-cylinder Q5 models, it's based around the usual 2-litre TFSI turbo unit, the associated 7-speed S-tronic dual-clutch auto gearbox, and the brand's Quattro four-wheel drive system. If you remember the previous generation Q5 Sportback PHEV, then you'll also remember that old TFSIe model didn't go very far on battery power between charges. This time round, things are much better, thanks to a battery that's 45% larger. It's now 25.9 kilowatt hours in size, though only 20.7 kilowatt hours of that is actually usable, which is why EV drive range has jumped from 38 to 62 miles. The kind of level that really could see you regularly using a Q5e hybrid, much like an EV for suburban journeys. This PHEV Q5 isn't any faster than it was before, total output still rated at 299 PS, with 450 newton meters of torque, allowing for 0 to 62 miles an hour in 6.2 seconds, en route to 155 miles an hour. With all powertrains, Audi says that drive dynamics have been improved with this latest generation Q5. For a start, there's now a wider Audi Drive Select mode spread between comfort and dynamic. The other settings, as before, are individual and efficiency. The steering now features the brand's variable assistance progressive system, though still isn't particularly feelsome, so you'll probably won't be throwing this car about through your favourite back doubles, unless perhaps you're in the top SQ5, which comes with a slightly differently tuned helm and Quattro drivetrain, and a rear sport differential for extra cornering traction. On more conventional Q5s, Audi's always been much better at ride quality, and that continues here, even with the standard passive suspension arrangement, which now features a frequency selective damping setup able to adapt automatically to different surfaces. Adaptive damping comes only if you stretch to the air suspension system that we're trying here. This is an option if you avoid base trim, or at the very summit of the range comes as standard with the top SQ5 variant. It's well worth having if you value a supple ride, and will be particularly welcome if you specify this Audi with the larger 20 or 21 inch wheels. Always good to show your best side, isn't it? And this is this Audi's. Enough, Ingolstadt thinks, to position you at the premium end of the trendy SUVs populating your local gym car park. It's certainly more athletic than the heavy-set proportions that characterised this model's predecessor. And quite a lot's gone on in the design studio to facilitate that. This horizontal shoulder line connecting the front and rear lights rises slightly above the rear tail lamps to visually support the roof arch with its flat rear window. The rear of the car is visually stretched as far as possible, creating a roofline that slopes from the B-pillar with elegant rear window graphics that also help to visually stretch the cabin. As is the trend, the big arches house big rims from 19 to 21 inches in size. We've got 20-inch alloys here. Whether you will be equally enamoured of the front end styling depends on how much you like the latest brand of Audi design language. It certainly makes the previous generation car look conservative. The broad single frame grille set high and flanked by these enormous black corner cutout sections that incorporate functional air curtains. Audi describes these frowning LED headlamps as razor sharp and sculptural. They can, of course, incorporate the intelligent matrix technology that we have fitted here. With minimal lines, the rear has a crisp design. There's smooth surfacing, a subtle roof spoiler, and the usual Audi full-width light strip. What the brand calls this car's diffuser is this lower latticed dark plastic panel integrated into the raised bumper in a way that Audi thinks creates what it calls an island effect. Small little twin exhausts poke out of the left-hand side just below it. As usual, of course, what's more important is what you can't see, the more electrified premium platform combustion underpinnings that mark out this new era model. Right, time to take a look inside. Now, there are no pop-out door handles to greet you as you approach. That wouldn't be very Audi. But, as usual, you can specify a digital key feature that'll allow you to unlock the car with your smartphone. This is a very different kind of Q5 cabin compared to what went before. Whether you'll think it better depends on your perspective, of course. As with the current A5, this interior gets the brand's new generation soft wrap design that extends from the doors around a main dashboard sculpted in a digital stage shape, supposed to resemble the single-frame grille. As part of this, an 11.9-inch digital instrument display blends into a 14.5-inch curved control infotainment touchscreen. Options, both fitted here, include a head-up display and a smaller 10.9-inch screen for the passenger side, which has a clever polarised filter so the driver can't be distracted by what's on it. As we said when we first tried this new style of interior design in the Q6 e-tron, the way the expansive screen curves around you is appealing. But lower down, the wide swathe of glossy piano black plastic that surrounds the EV-style gear selector and the unlidded cup holders on the centre console isn't. Why are car brands so attracted to this kind of shiny surfacing? It's easy to scratch and smudge, and you're constantly having to wipe it for dust. It even features on this little square smart door panel, to which for some reason the lighting switches have been relocated. Overall, the quality of materials used around this interior, like the edges to the lower centre console or this indented mid-level fascia covering, just doesn't feel as class-leading and special as previous Audi cabins used to. Still, there's certainly more technology. Borrowing a feature we've seen on various VW Group EVs, this generation Q5 can feature an optional dynamic interaction light, an ambient lighting strip at the top of the dashboard that highlights things like indicator, phone and safety functions. Ideally, you'd want that. Premium touches include dashboard double stitching and the smartly finished door speakers for the optional Bang & Olufsen high-end sound system. Plus, sustainable and vegan materials feature throughout. In terms of overall ergonomics, though, it's hard to avoid the feeling that Audi cabins have regressed in user friendliness. There are now no physical climate controls, and these irritatingly fiddly touch-sensitive steering wheel buttons will have anyone who owned a Q5 from the last decade wishing for the tactile provision of that previous model's lower MMI controller. The only thing we do like about them is the provision on the right-hand spoke of this really useful star button that's a one-shot route to turning the traffic sign-based speed warning off. Earlier we mentioned the instrument display, the conventional sighting of which we suppose we should be thankful for as an alternative to having everything crammed in Tesla-like on some enormous central monitor in the middle of the dashboard. There is a bit of Tesla-style tech here though in the virtual central display that above a digital speed readout shows other vehicles around you as you drive. If you're used to the old Audi virtual cockpit style of screen dial design, you'll find this Audi Virtual Cockpit Plus OLED display a bit different. It certainly doesn't feel quite as configurable as the old setup. It can no longer show nav mapping, for instance. All you can do is vary what you see in boxes that flank the central graphic. The one on the left shows trip data, the one on the right is for nav instructions, audio selections or phone settings. Everything else you'll need is on this high-resolution MMI Navigation Plus centre screen display. This OLED Android Automotive OS-based setup is a product of the brand's newly developed electronic architecture E3 tech, which is supposed to allow customers to experience vehicle digitalisation more directly than was ever possible in an Audi before. Much of this 14.5-inch screen's real estate is taken up by permanently displaying functions, climate controls along the bottom and 2 rows of shortcut features to the right. You can decide how to populate the rest of the space. We've got radio settings and mapping for the 3D navigation system here. Swipe left for an analog clock, drive select settings and phone functions. We're thankful for a physical volume knob too. Drill down into what's on offer with this curved monitor and it's all very advanced. You get wondrous graphics and there's a self-learning Audi voice assistant used to control numerous vehicle functions, which understands more than 800 voice commands. Plus there's Alexa functionality, regular over-the-air updates, a wireless smartphone interface and a store section that gives customers access to a wide range of apps. This is basically a new era of infotainment provision with features like a web browser that could, for instance, allow your passenger to reserve a hotel room for you through booking.com as you drive to your destination, all through the touchscreen. This monitor also comes with the option we have here of a thumping 3D Bang & Olufsen premium sound system. As mentioned earlier, your Q5 Sportback can feature this third 10.9-inch screen in front of the passenger. A nice thing to have, perhaps, if someone else is paying, but a feature you might struggle to see the point of. You might like the fact that you can add apps to it like Amazon Music or YouTube, so films can be watched by the passenger on a long trip. But there are no climate controls, and pretty much all the stuff on this extra monitor is duplicated by the centre screen. What else? Well, the driver's seat is supportive and aligns nicely with the controls, but if you pull the wheel down to its lower setting, it can obscure the top of the instrument display. Forward visibility is good, but your back view is slightly obscured by the rear headrests and the small tailgate screen, so you'll need the standard rear view camera and sensors. As for practicality, well, there's a big glove box but small door bins. This shallow illuminated box between the seats has a ratcheting top that acts as an armrest, and there's an open area where the centre console meets the dashboard, including a wireless phone mat near a 12-volt socket. Twin USB ports are nearby as well, but unfortunately they're both USB-C, so you'll probably have to use an unsightly converter lead. You might expect an SUV coupe to be slightly awkward to enter at the rear. Well, even though the door opening is a little small, this one's actually not too bad. And once inside, in the second row, this Sportback model isn't much compromised in headroom over its conventional SUV showroom stablemate, despite its more rakish roofline. In this era of flat floor EVs, this central transmission tunnel really does seem ridiculously high. We can't see how you'd fit a central seated occupant in, unless they were perhaps of school age. But knee rooms aided by the sculpted seat backs and leg space, which isn't too bad, can, if you've avoided base trim, be extended by the sliding rear bench that we have here. The backrests recline too, and despite these rear quarter-light windows, it can feel a bit dark in here if you haven't paid the extra for the panoramic glass roof. And all the usual provisions feature netted seat back pockets, overhead reading lights, twin USB-C ports, rear climate controls and vents, decent door bins and an armrest with cup holders. We'll finish as usual with a look out back. The powered tailgate rises to reveal 515 litres of boot space in conventionally engined Q5 Sportback models, which is just 5 litres less than you get with the SUV version when measured from boot floor to parcel shelf. Obviously though, this Sportback model will struggle more with bulkier items. Bear in mind that in e-hybrid PHEV form, this car offers only 433 litres of space. For reference, a rival Mercedes GLC Coupe has a 545 litre boot, but can offer only 390 litres in PHEV form. It's a sensibly sized space accessed over this slightly impractically silver-coloured loading lip. Recesses either side mean things like golf bags can easily be stowed widthwise. There's a deep well beneath the floor where the optional stowage nets can sit. And you get a netted area on the left, 4 floor tie-downs, a bag hook on the right, and a useful inner tailgate light for nighttime loading. If you've paid the extra for adaptive air suspension, you get these useful little switches here on the left to lower the load height to more easily lump in the heavy loads. If you need more space, the rear bench can slide forward, or its backrest can be put in a more upright position, or, because it's conveniently split 40-20-40, you can fold down its middle section for the carriage of longer items. If you need to flatten everything, you can do so via these cargo sidewall catches and create up to 1,415 litres of space with conventionally engined versions of this Sportback, which is 58 litres less than the equivalent SUV. You'll get 1,300 litres of space with the e-hybrid version. Audi wants a £2,500 premium to own this Q5 Sportback compared to the Q5 SUV, which sounds quite a lot, which meant at the time of our test in summer 2025 that prices for this Sportback variant started from around £55,000, rising to around £79,000 for the top SQ5 version. As usual with Audi, the mainstream trim choices are Sport, S-Line, and at the time of our test, Top Edition 1. Most customers choose S-Line spec, which requires an extra £2,600 above base sport trim. You'll need to find 1,650 more to go from the base 2-litre TFSI petrol engine to the 2-litre TDI diesel we're trying here. Prices for the e-hybrid PHEV start from just under £60,000. You'll want some value perspective on that. Well, the most direct rival to this car is the Mercedes GLC Coupe, which costs about the same. At the time we filmed, BMW was still selling its contender in this sector, the X4, at about the same kind of money that Audi's asking here, but that's now quite an aging design, which BMW says won't be replaced. Anything else you might look at in this segment probably won't be specifically a coupe SUV, but might have much of this genre's swept-back looks. Take, for instance, the combustion version of the Porsche Macan, still on sale at the time of this test. That costs a similar amount to this Audi, as does another class contender a Q5 Sportback customer might be interested in, the Range Rover Velar. And if you want something a bit more left field, what about an Alfa Romeo Stelvio? Just about anything else you might look at in this class is probably more directly targeted by the more conventional SUV version of this Q5. If, having considered all of that, you conclude that it is this Audi that you really want, then you're going to need to know just how generous they've been with standard spec this time around. So let's take a look at that now. Base Sport trim gets you 19-inch 5 twin-spoke design alloy wheels, LED headlights with high beam assist, an acoustic windscreen, a powered hatch or tailgate, an anti-theft alarm, and LED tail lamps with dynamic indicators. Drive stuff includes progressive steering, adaptive cruise control, Audi Drive Select modes, and a Park Assist Plus system that automatically steers you into tight spaces. Nice touches include an efficiency assist system that uses GPS data to tailor the car's speed for turns and junctions, and systems that adapt your speed to prevailing limits and the route ahead. Inside with sport spec, there's heated front sports seats in twin leather upholstery, 3-zone automatic climate control, 30-colour ambient lighting, wireless charging for 2 phone handsets, and an 11.9-inch Audi Virtual Cockpit Plus OLED instrument display. Infotainment's covered off by a 14.5-inch MMI Navigation Plus high-resolution OLED centre screen with 3D mapping, Audi Assistant 2 voice control, and 3-year subscription for the many Audi Connect navigation and infotainment services, which include the Audi Application Store and Screen Themes. There's also an 8-speaker, 180-watt Audi sound system and a rear-view camera with a 360-degree Parking System Plus display. To this tally, S-Line trim adds larger 20-inch 5-arm alloy wheels, S-Line exterior styling with volcano grey S-Line bumpers, rear privacy glass and lowered S-Sport suspension. Inside, with the Q5 S-Line model, you get stainless steel pedals, a black cloth headliner, a bespoke S-branded steering wheel, S-branded door trims and matte brushed aluminium interior inlays. The front seats are S-branded too, and there's the useful no-cost option of lighter coloured upholstery if you want it. Probably the key S-Line feature, though, is the Rear Seat Bench Plus, sliding rear bench. If top Edition 1 spec is still available in the Q5 Sportback lineup at the time you're viewing this film, you'll find a version of this car equipped at this level. We'll have 21-inch 5 twin-spoke Audi sport wheels with red brake calipers, matrix LED headlamps with active digital light signatures, dark chrome tailpipes and a darker exterior look courtesy of the brand's Black Styling Package Plus. Edition 1 spec also gets you upholstery in a combination of leather and suede-like Dynamica and a top-view surround camera system, a digital key system that'll allow you to lock and start the car with your phone, a 10.9-inch MMI passenger-side display screen, power-adjustable front seats with memory settings, Dynamica cabin trim, and a few extra active safety features which we'll cover off for you in a few moments. The top SQ5 model does, of course, have its own bespoke spec. The launch Edition 1 version of that variant on sale at the time of this test included all the Edition 1 features I've just mentioned and a lot else besides. There's 21-inch multi-spoke Audi Sport alloy wheels, S exterior styling, digital OLED tail lights, S adaptive air suspension and a switchable transparency panoramic sunroof. Inside with SQ5 trim, you get fine Napa leather upholstered power adjustable front seats with ventilation and a massage function. The brand's ambient lighting package plus with its dash top dynamic interaction light and a heated steering wheel with power adjustment. There's also a head-up display, rear seat heating, the 10.9-inch MMI front passenger touch display, and a 3D Bang & Olufsen premium sound system. What about options? Well, your Audi Centre is going to want you to consider paying around £2,200 extra for the Sound and Vision Pack, which gets you some of the niceties we just mentioned with SQ5 spec, the Bang & Olufsen 3D sound system, the head-up display, and the more advanced ambient lighting package with its dynamic interaction light. Avoid base trim, and you'll also be offered the opportunity to spend £1,725 more on the adaptive air suspension system that we've been trying here. What else? Well, a useful optional storage and luggage compartment package adds various useful cabin storage features and includes the Rear Seat Bench Plus sliding rear bench for sport spec model buyers who would otherwise have to do without. Across the range, you can also add a panoramic glass roof, while practical extras include a retractable tow bar and roof rails, which you'll need for the roof crossbars necessary for things like roof boxes and ski racks. There's also an alternative graphite grey finished 19-inch wheel design. And bear in mind that unless you order your Q5 Sportback with the only standard colour, solid Arcona white, you'll need to budget at least £725 more for your choice of paint colour. We've got metallic ultra blue here. On to safety, and all the usual camera driver assistance systems you'd expect are of course included. In this case, that means front emergency brake assist, lane departure warning, front cross traffic intersection assist, swerve assist and front turn assist, and advanced driver attention and fatigue monitor, and traffic sign recognition that facilitates an intelligent speed limiter with speed warning. You also get distraction and distance warning, and even a traffic light information feature that enables the car to tailor its speed to forthcoming sets of urban traffic lights. There's a full range of passive safety kit, including a tyre pressure loss indicator, plus of course all the usual eCall system linked airbags, including front side airbags with a head airbag system and a front interaction airbag. If you want more, an Edition 1 or SQ5 model comes with an emergency assist system that'll bring the car to a controlled stop if you get taken ill at the wheel, along with rear cross traffic assist, rear turn assist and lane change assistance. There are also 3 features Audi really ought to have standardised across the Q5 range, namely an exit warning system that prevents occupants opening their doors into the face of oncoming traffic, occupant detection in the rear seat area, and side assist blind spot detection. This top level of spec also includes proactive passenger protection system for front, sides and rear, and a higher standard of airbag protection with side airbags in the front and rear with a head airbag system and a front interaction airbag. Let's get to the efficiency figures. The 2-litre TFSI petrol Q5 Sportback manages up to 40.4 mpg on the combined cycle and up to 159 grams per kilometre of CO2, which matches the class standard and is pretty close to what you get from an equivalent A5 Sportback. Obviously, to get close to the stated figures, you'll need to regularly engage the most frugal drive mode, which is efficiency. And what about the diesel version we're trying here? Well, with this TDI, we'd hope that the efficiency figures might have done a bit more than merely match the class standard. After all, like its petrol counterpart, this engine now features Ingolstadt's much trumpeted MHEV Plus mild hybrid system, which adds a clever powertrain generator, or the PTG, which can feed up to 24 PS of electric power to the output of the combustion engine. When decelerating, the PTG feeds energy back into the battery at up to 25 kilowatts. As a result, purely electric manoeuvring and parking are possible, as well as dramatically increased levels of regenerative braking. As usual with these things, it all sounds very good, but when you drill right down to the figures, it turns out that all the MHEV Plus system has done is not quite bring the readings of this VW Group 2-litre TDI engine up to match the class standard. This Q5 TDI Sportback manages up to 47.3 mpg on the combined cycle and up to 157 grams per kilometre. For comparison, a rival Mercedes GLC Coupe 220D, with its more straightforward mild hybrid tech, manages up to 53.3 mpg and up to 140 grams per kilometre. For some reason, Audi's decided that the top petrol-esque Q5 should also have the MHEV Plus mild hybrid system. And so equipped, this flagship model manages up to 34.2 mpg on the combined cycle and up to 187 grams per kilometre of CO2. For real efficiency in a Q5 Sportback, as we told you in our driving section, you have to look at the PHEV petrol e-hybrid model. The efficiency figures here aren't as outlandish as they usually are with plug-in hybrids, but they're probably a great deal closer to stats you might get somewhere near in day-to-day motoring when fully charged. Audi quotes 73.5 to 94.1 mpg on the combined cycle, and a weighted figure of 56 to 75 grams per kilometre of CO2. To get close to those figures, you'd have to get proactive with the e-hybrid model's 3-level brake energy recuperation system, which can recover up to 88 kilowatts of power and feed it into the HV battery. As for plugging this PHEV variant in, well, charging power is much better than the old TFSI plug-in hybrid system could provide, increased from 2-phase 7.4 kilowatts to 3-phase 11 kilowatt if you can use that. With a 3-phase supply, you could completely recharge the Q5 e-hybrid model's battery in 2.5 hours. What else might you need to know? Well, residual values should be strong, but Audi isn't particularly generous with its vehicle warranty. It's still 3 years or 60,000 miles. You can extend that cover to 4 years and 75,000 miles or 5 years and 90,000 at extra cost. As usual with Audi models, there's a choice of either a fixed or a flexible servicing regime. The choice between the two depending on the extent of your likely annual mileage. The fixed schedule is aimed at drivers covering fewer than 10,000 miles a year and includes an oil change service every 9,000 miles or every year, plus an inspection service every 19,000 miles or every 2 years. If you cover more than 10,000 miles a year, the flexible service schedule will be more appropriate. This regime, including oil change and inspection services at variable intervals of up to every 19,000 miles or every 2 years. If the premium to own this Q5 Sportback over the standard SUV version wasn't so significant, choosing it would be an obvious move if you'd already decided on the Q5. As it is, such a potential customer would have to ask themselves whether the swept back looks really are worth the extra. That styling enhancement was difficult to justify with the first generation model, but you might be swayed by it here. And as with the SUV version, all the usual Audi temptations are in evidence. Classy cabin, excellent build quality, supple ride, and an efficient set of engines. It's all very Vorsprung dirt technique. And if that appeals, then this Q5 Sportback will too.